Alright, what is going on, everybody? This is Trudger MC, and today, because October 31st is approaching, I figured we might as well take a look at my personal favorite Batman villain, Mr. Spooky Man himself, the Scarecrow. And this is Scarecrow specifically from, well, if you're familiar with Scarecrow, then you know exactly what this is. This is Arkham Knight Scarecrow. And this design, I think, is just really cool. And, yeah, we'll explain why in a little bit. But if you're interested, here he is compared to a completely different aesthetic, Marvel Select Spider-Man. It's pretty cool. And as far as how tall he is, well, we will find that out if we go from the bottom of his foot to the top of his head, including the hood, because it's kind of hard to tell where his head stops and where his hood starts. Looks like he is about 7¼ inches or so. Something like that. And then doing the same thing with centimeters. Looks like he is like 18¾ centimeters. So like somewhere between 18.5 and 19. So like 18¾ centimeters. Something like that. So here is Arkham Knight Scarecrow. Definitely a unique design. And for me, I think that this design is itself heavily inspired by his design from not Batman the Animated Series, but the new Batman Adventures. If you're familiar with that Scarecrow, you know that, he basically didn't look like a scarecrow. He basically looked like a zombie. And I think that's what they were trying to go for with this design. And I think it works. He definitely has this sort of modern, almost terrorist type look to him. Emphasis on the terror part. I could actually imagine if they end up having Scarecrow in the Matt Reeves Batman universe, that he would probably look something like this. And in case you're wondering, I do have a person in mind that's like, come on, man, if you're going to have Scarecrow in the Matt Reeves Batman universe, for my money, I'd say have Jackie Earl Haley in that role. And I have my reasons why, but the main reason is it's like, come on, man, have you seen Watchmen? That guy killed it in Watchmen. So, but yeah, anyway, that's neither here nor there. Here is Scarecrow. This is what we have right here, right now. It's got some nice texture. It looks like, I wouldn't really say burlap, but it definitely looks like this was like a stitched together suit. You have all these like stitch marks and all of that, and the bottom piece here has a nice flow to it, which kind of goes sort of windswept. It has this kind of almost like this leathery texture to it. I think that's pretty cool. His boots look good. They look like they've seen some wear and tear. This one's kind of like its flap is kind of down a little bit, but that's all good. And then you also notice, if you know anything about the lore in the Arkham games, you know that in Arkham Asylum, this guy got super messed up by Killer Croc, and that's why he has a leg brace on this leg, and why his face looks like that. And yes, in case you're wondering, that is his face. That's not a mask. In the universe anyway. Well, technically it looks like that. But yeah, that is his face in Arkham Knight. And yeah, that's definitely interesting. But I think it sort of adds to that it's like this dude is so edgy that he actually looks like that. So I like that. He has all these like canisters for his fear toxin with, you know, like these tubes here going into his chest and going from his arm into these syringes on his hand. And yeah, I will say that I think this figure really could have benefited from some extra paint. Now, I'm personally not too good with painting, especially with painting action figures. That doesn't really work for me. That's I would end up making it look worse. But for those of you that are all about that, then you could really make this figure pop, because he has some details of like some ropes there on the side of his leg and like the stitch marks all over, and you know, like you have these pouches on his back sort of going around to his front there. He's got like a belt, and you could really make this figure look incredible. Because for the most part he's basically just black with like a little bit of orange for his fear toxin. Now, like, that's about it. So I would say that this figure, by himself, I think he looks cool. Like, I still recommend it, but especially if you are interested in painting and you can really make this guy pop. Because I know that they did make a gold label version of this where instead of black, it's brown. And now I personally like this design better because I think it looks more accurate to the game, but the brown one looks good in and of itself too. Yeah, that's about all we got for aesthetic. I think it looks pretty cool. So then as far as articulation is concerned, he does have this floaty noose piece. So it does kind of get in the way a little bit, but he can look up about that much, so not very far. He can look down, not that much. It's not really so much this is the only problem, it's just that the design of him having a massive hood. Yeah, and he does rotate a little bit, but that's about all we got. As far as the shoulders are concerned, they can go up comfortably about that far. So that's all right. And then he does have rotation all the way around, but this piece kind of gets in the way a little bit. That's all good. He does have a bicep swivel, which is nicely hidden. He does also have a double jointed elbow, and you can get up like that. And he does have a ball joint type thing for his wrists, and it is the same thing on this arm. It's just a little bit more limited because of this thing. You can bend the elbow, but I wouldn't recommend going too far because that could break, and I don't want to break it. And I don't think he would want to break it either. And then it's the same kind of thing, and this thing does kind of get in the way, but not too much. And then as far as the torso is concerned, well, there's basically nothing because of just the design, because you have all that stuff, and using the torso joint, he can go back about that far, and forward, basically not at all. But that's okay, this guy doesn't need to be super acrobatic. And then there is a little bit of a rotation, but because of all these tubes, it doesn't really do a whole lot. As far as the legs are concerned, they can go forward about that far, and back basically not at all, but again, this guy doesn't need to be super acrobatic, so it's all good. I mean, this guy in particular, he's not going to be acrobatic because the dude's got a busted face, a busted leg, and whatever else Killer Croc did to him that we don't know about. So yeah, the legs can go out about that far. So not too bad, I would say, for this character design. And then there isn't really a thigh swivel. Now, I will show the articulation for the leg on this side because he does have articulation, but because of this piece, and I really don't want to break it, I don't really play with it, so I don't really know what that knee joint can do. But for his right leg that doesn't have the giant brace on it, he does have a double joint, but it does kind of get in the way of this thing. But he still has it nonetheless. And then you do get a nicely hidden, ratcheted ankle articulation. It can go back that far, and it can go forward really far too, and it's nicely well hidden. So I think they should make more ankles like that. That's really good. And then for the toe joint, it is good for what it is. And again, you can kind of do the same thing, but just be careful with it because, yeah, that's about all I'm going to want to do with that. Because I don't want to break it, and this figure already looks really cool. So, yeah, articulation, you could probably tell just looking at him that wasn't going to be that much, but again, I think it's okay because he's not like in a suit like this that will allow for articulation, you know, where he can do like super crazy poses and that kind of thing. Because this guy doesn't even do a whole lot. He just kind of walks and stands. Like, physically speaking, that's about all he does. So, that's all we got for that. Now, as far as accessories, he does come with a display stand, as you would expect. And I will put him on that because sometimes I have a hard time getting him to stand. And then you do have a trading card with artwork from the game directly. Or, now, I don't know if this particular shot was actually from the game, but I know it was for the promotional art for Arkham Knight. So there's that. And then we do have his name there and a little blurb about all of that, if you're wondering what this guy is all about. So there we go. And then we do also have his box here with the name Scarecrow on there, and that's a Scarecrow from Batman Arkham Knight over there. You get a super big image of the trading card image and nothing else. Sometimes they show like stuff down here for other figures, but not this time around. And there's that, and there's that. And I actually ordered this from the McFarlane Toy Store directly, so I don't know if that changes the way that the box looks, but that's what my box looks like. So, yeah, pretty straightforward stuff. Again, I recommend this figure, especially if you are into painting. I think that this guy can look really cool with some painting. That's just not for me, because I'm not good at it. I would end up making the figure look worse. But, yeah, so I do like this figure. I do recommend it. And if you don't like the black, like I said, he does come with a gold label version where he's more brown, where basically everything that's black is brown, and his face is like more of a tan color than gray. So if that interests you, then you can probably find that somewhere. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, or you like Scarecrow, or you like Arkham Knight, or anything involving this or me or anything like that, then be sure to leave a like and all that stuff. And if you want to share what you think of this figure and that kind of thing, then you can leave a comment. And I do have some upcoming reviews that I think might be kind of fun, so be sure to subscribe to stay tuned for those. And other than that, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you all later. Goodbye.